The disabled tyrant's beloved pet fish. Transmigration. Chapter 46. Liu examined the Become a Koi side quest. At first the prompt was in order to become a koi, one must first have the aspect of a koi. Now it had changed into in order to become a koi, one must experience the feeling of being a koi. Liu asked the system, why did the prompt change? If he remembered correctly, it should have changed when he was causing the big ruckus inside Ganking Palace. The system explained patiently, when host gained a desire to protect the tyrant and acted courageously for the sake of the tyrant, it shows that you possess the aspect of a koi. Liu became enlightened, so the special aspect of a koi is protection. Why did he always think that it was having good luck? Actually, if one thought about it again, it seemed pretty reasonable. People always hoped that koi would bring them good luck, wasn't this also hoping that koi could protect them? Because of his unintentional actions, he ended up accidentally updating the Become a Koi side quest. However, this update didn't actually mean it was done. The mission was still progressing. Liu fretted, what does it mean to experience the feeling of being a koi? System, it means, host, are you ready? Liu, huh? Before Liu could react, the view in front of him quickly changed. Originally, the world inside the system was a formless mass of muddled chaos. Now it has changed into a boundless starry sky. The system stated solemnly, host, please pick a target to experience being a koi. Liu. Wait, what do you mean pick a target? He wasn't prepared for anything at all. Liu did not understand what the system meant completely. As he looked ahead, there was a path in front of him that led to a dark distance. Liu was still in the form of a fish. He carefully gave a try and found out that even though there was no water, he could still follow this road and swim forward. This was impossible in real life, therefore, Liu concluded that he was still in the incorporeal realm. The system urged, host, please proceed with the task without worry. Liu. Every time the system said something like this, fish would get screwed over. Liu cautiously thought perhaps he should just exit and withdraw first. He wasn't prepared at all and only came into the system temporarily to take a look. Jingwan was still outside. What if he messed up the mission and couldn't turn into a koi? However, while it was easy for him to exit the system before, he could not do so this time. The system was already starting to screw fish over. It didn't allow him to retreat and momentarily trapped him in this incorporeal world. Looks like if he wanted to exit the system, he had to follow the system's guide and experience the feeling of being a koi. Because a lot of troubles resulted when he changed his scales, Liu's enthusiasm to turn into a koi was somewhat affected. But maybe this was just how the life of a fish should be. Liu swam forward, following the road before his eyes. After an unknown period of time, he saw a light appeared ahead of him. The scenery in the surrounding area also gradually became clearer. He discovered that he was actually in the Imperial Palace, because this place had special gold tiles on the walls which were only unique to the Imperial Palace. Because he could still swim around as he pleased, it seems like he haven't exited the incorporeal world and all of this was just an illusion. There was no prompt from the system, implying that he could only count on himself once again to figure things out. He was already used to this. However, what did choose a target mean? He still didn't see anyone. As if it was a response to his confusion, the sound of human voices traveled over from a short distance away. Liu quickly swam over and discovered two children brawling on the grass. Of the two children, the older one was taller and skinnier while the younger one was short with puffy cheeks and chubby body like a round little fatty. The older one looked about 7 to 8 years old while the younger one was only 2 or 3 years old. For some reasons, The two children were rolling together on the grass. The older boy was mean and cunning. He pinched and twisted the little fatty boy and even kicked his chubby belly. If it were any other child, he would have already cried, but not only did the fatty boy not cry, he even gritted his teeth and hit the older boy's face, causing the older child boy to have a black eye. Liu was just by their sides. Either of the children didn't seem to have seen him. He attempted to separate the two children, but he couldn't touch them. So, it really was just an illusion. He can only watch. Liu thought to himself. When System asked him to pick a target, was he supposed to pick from these two boys? This fight very quickly ended. The little fatty viciously bit the older kid's arm. The older kid covered his arm, wailing and screaming, "You just wait. I'm telling Imperial Father." While bawling and crying, the older child scrambled and ran off. The little fatty watched the older child's retreating back with a cold gaze. Then he lowered his head and picked up a broken kite on the side, putting it away. From that word Imperial Father, Liu could surmise that these two boys were most likely princes. However, their ages didn't match up with the 7th and 8th princes that Liu knew. Moreover, the 7th and 8th princes had a good relationship with each other. In the original novel, it never mentioned that they fought. So who exactly was this little fatty? Liu continued to watch. A personal servant anxiously ran over and hugged the little fatty, saying, "Your Highness, why are you fighting with the second prince again? Did you win?" Liu laughed out loud. This personal servant has quite a way with words. The little fatty's dark eyes gleamed as he nodded. The servant wanted to help the little fatty to wipe his face. When he turned around with the little fatty, Liu immediately clearly saw the servant's face and felt extremely surprised. This face was precisely the same as Wang Shi, but a few years younger. Liu paused and wondered, was this, supposed one of Wang Gonggong's relative? Liu became interested in these two people. The servant who looked like Wang Shi led the little fatty prince along. Liu quietly followed behind them. He discovered that these two people circled around into a palace. Liu looked around and felt this place looked a bit familiar. Raising his head and glancing at the inscribed plaque above. The plaque was engraved with the words Jingtai Palace. Liu was instantly stunned. According to his knowledge, only one prince lived in Jingtai Palace. Also, this servant looked eerily similar to Wang Shi. Liu, who abruptly realized the truth of this matter, almost screamed out loud, "No way." No wonder when the little fatty got beaten or hit, he didn't make any noise at all. No wonder this servant looked so similar to Wang Shi. As a child grew, their appearance usually changed a lot, so he didn't recognize the little fatty boy before. Meanwhile, an adult would have relative smaller change in their appearance as they get older. The silent baby prince who lived in Jingtai Palace and the young eunuch who looked just like Wang Shi, wasn't this Jing Wang and Wang Shi themselves? Liu knew that the system loved to screw fish. Before, the pit it dug was of smaller scale. Now, not only it refused to let him exit, it even brought him an illusion of scenes from more than 10 years ago. Wow! So, Jing Wang was a little fatty when he was young, eh? Liu thought he had already transmigrated into a novel. At this point, an illusion really wasn't anything. Liu only felt a little happy after learning that he suddenly arrived at a time when Jing Wang was still this young. Wagging his tail wildly, he skipped and hopped enthusiastically behind the little fatty. The little chubby Jing Wang and Wang Shi still hadn't discovered him. Liu ended up swaggering in front of them, jumping into the courtyard that he was familiar with. Wang Shi wiped the little chubby Jing Wang's face clean and went to get something, leaving the little fatty in the courtyard and instructing him not to walk around randomly. The little chubby Jing Wang was very obedient. Sitting with a blank face, he really did remain completely motionless. Liu swam behind the little fatty's round, plump body and used the tip of his tail to rub against the other's back. However, the little chubby Jing Wang didn't respond at all. Tisk. As expected, this little fatty couldn't feel him. So how was he supposed to do this experience being a koi task? Now that Liu knew this little fatty was Jingwang. Of course he was going to pick Jingwang. As he pondered with his fish head tilted, the older prince that Jingwang chased away came back again. Liu remembered that Wang Shi called this one the second prince. So this should be the Mu Tianzhao when he was younger? The second prince ran over. Jingwang had a ferocious expression on his face and gave him a glare. The second prince said angrily, "Imperial father wanted me to teach you a lesson. There's no way he'd come in person to see you, nor would he care about you." Jingwang got angry and the two people started to fight again. In Liu's eyes, two kids fighting were like two weak chickens pecking at each other. Even if he wanted to help, he couldn't do it. As the two princes fought, they ended up rolling into a mess again. Just as they rolled next to a pond, Jingwang was caught off guard and had a moment of disadvantage. Who knew where the second prince got the strength, but he gave Jingwang a forceful push and shoved him into the pond. The young Jingwang didn't know how to swim. Seeing the other struggle in the water, the second prince also became terrified and ran away with a scream. "Don't run away. Come back and save him, ah!" Liu swam back and forth anxiously. But Wang Shi wasn't here, and for some reason, there was no one else by Jingwang's side. No. Jingwang must be saved. Even if this was an illusion. Liu jumped into the pond without hesitation. When he entered the water, he suddenly felt a wet feeling that he hadn't experienced for a while. It seemed that he became a part of the illusion. There's no time to think, Liu swam to Jingwang's side like an arrow. For a second, the little chubby Jingwang forgot to struggle and looked in surprise at the black fish that appeared out of nowhere. The stomach and tail of this fish was a dazzling gold. The little fatty was about to sink down with a whoosh. Liu opened his mouth and grabbed the front of the little fatty's clothes. Like he thought, he could touch the little fatty now. However, he was only a little carp. Even if the system blessed him with increased strength, a fish couldn't pull up a 2 to 3 years old child. If he can get bigger and stronger, that would be great. Begging sincerely, Liu felt like at this moment, his fish body seemed to have responded to his desire and actually started to become bigger. In the end, he became as long as the little fatty's arm. Liu went to grab the little fatty's clothes again. Finally, he found that he could move him. Dragging and pushing, Liu carried the little fatty back onto land. Cheeks crimson red and with an excited expression, the little fatty opened his eyes and looked unblinkingly at the fish. Liu almost died of exhaustion but was still worried about the little fatty. Right now, he could no longer swim around randomly outside of the pond and had to remain in the water. He moved himself to bring his back near the little fatty's hand. The little chubby Jingwang? Liu. What a dummy. Don't you even know how to pet fish? How did you turn into that man in the future? The man who was capable of stroking him until his tail turned limp. Liu resigned himself to his fate and put the fish body next to the chubby boy's hand and demonstrated how to rub fish by moving his fish back against the boy's palm. The little fatty extended a soft and fat finger and poked the fish's slippery back. After getting used to the cold touch, the little fatty placed his hand on there. Soon after, he learned how to pet the fish. Petting fish can make people happy. Just like this little fatty. As Liu enjoyed the little fatty's slightly inexperienced petting, he also placed his fish head under the little fatty's palm and nudged it twice himself. Although he didn't know what this meant, he really enjoyed it a lot whenever Jingwang did this. With this guidance, the little fatty smiled and lightly touched the fish's head. This smile on the chubby face finally revealed a shadow of that handsome and envy-inducing man in the future. Liu wagged his tail all wildly in encouragement. He and the little fatty silently played for a while. Then the sound of a lot of people came from outside. Now that Liu could be seen by others, he hastily turned around, waved his tail and hid into the plants at the bottom of the pond. The little chubby Jingwang was very quickly surrounded by a group of imperial physicians. Someone wearing the dragon's robes, a younger-looking emperor, quickly walked over. He looked in surprise at the rippling pond water and the gold color scattered amidst it. This was because the little carp was hiding in the plants. The emperor couldn't see fish but managed to see the gold light reflecting from the fish's tail and body. This dazzling color was already imprinted into the emperor's eyes. "How do you feel? Are you all right?" The emperor turned his head and looked worriedly at the fifth prince, who fell into the water. The little fatty looked at the emperor, then looked at the pond. Unable to see the fish, the little fatty struggled to get up. Then, swaying twice, he fell back down again. "Fifth prince." The imperial physicians hastily grabbed the child. One of the physicians touched the fifth prince with a shaky hand and cried out in alarm, "The fifth prince has a high fever right now. He's literally scalding to touch." Liu never thought that the little fatty's reddened face was because he had a fever. Panicking, he was about to jump out from under the plants. However, it felt like a fog suddenly appeared over his eyes, which gradually took him far away. The last that Liu heard was the emperor's furious voice saying, "Hurry up and treat him. If anything happens to Tianjing, you can forget about living as well." Liu was stunned. So the little fatty was called Tianjing, not Tianqi? Did he made a mistake? Wasn't this his tyrant master? Impossible. He read the entire novel. The emperor didn't have any son named Tianjing. Not to mention, the young Wang Shi was personally taking care of this prince. Also, he couldn't speak. This was definitely Jing Wang, no doubt about it. Moreover, why was Jing Wang's title just happen to have the character Zheng? Could it be? Did Jing Wang changed his name while he was a child? All of the other princes had the character Ri in their names. For Jing Wang to be called Tianqi, it was very different. If he was called Tianjing, it would match perfectly. The only person who could change Jing Wang's name was the emperor himself. This was most likely the case. But, why? Liu thought about it but couldn't figure it out. This wasn't anything super important either. No matter if Jing Wang was called Tianqi or Tianjing, he was still his tyrant master. Host, congratulations on completing the branch mission Become a Koi. After obtaining the reward, you will become a Koi and also obtain the abilities of a Koi. The system aptly reminded him. Liu's thoughts were still on the sickly little fatty. He continuously reminded himself that those things happened in an illusion only. It's not real. Jing Wang was fine right now, just outside of the system. He was no longer the little fatty, so he probably didn't really get sick either. Liu, system, the little fatty, that kid just now. What happened to him? Even though it was an illusion, Liu couldn't help but ask. System, he became ill afterwards but he got better a few days later. Liu. Forget it. He already knew that the system was best at screwing fish over. To be able to hear this kind of result was good enough. Liu looked at his own body. In the illusion just now, he turned big. Now he turned back to his normal size. It was only an illusion and didn't count after all. He was fine with this. The Koi mission was completed probably because he just helped the little chubby Jing Wang inside the illusion. The system wanted him to experience being a Koi. He already knew that the Koi's special aspect was protection. In other words, experiencing the feeling of being a Koi meant experiencing the feeling of protecting someone. Just like how he chose the little fatty and helped that little fatty. Finally, he finished the side quest and could turn into a Koi. Faced with the reward that he's been anticipating for a long time, Liu didn't feel particularly excited anymore. Would the color of his scales change again if he turned into a Koi? System, yes. The color of your scales will change again. Liu, then let's wait a bit first. He was pretty much compelled to finish the Koi mission. Outside, because he changed his scales once, he ended up causing a lot of trouble. Jing Wang finally managed to cover everything up for him. If he made another huge change, wouldn't it make people even more suspicious? Even real koi wouldn't change this frequently. Liu, can you keep this reward for a little longer? System. Liu tried to exit again, and this time he finally managed to leave the system. Leaving with lingering fears, he returned to the real world and discovered that Jingwang was currently covering fish up with the gold silk grass blanket. Liu shook his tail with the strength of his emotion. Although the illusion wasn't real, I was still very glad to have met you, little fatty. End chapter. The disabled tyrant's beloved pet fish. Transmigration. Chapter 47. Jingwang discovered after the carpiao got out of its meditative state this time, it became extremely affectionate with him. Yet clearly when he woke up earlier, it immediately abandoned him and entered the meditative state. Jingwang read some introductory cultivation books lately. He knew that during a meditative state, one could attain enlightenment. So what did this carpiao attained? Liu, who was really immeasurably satisfied, I discovered that Jingwang was a little fatty before. Should I be surprised? Shocked? Or stunned? He. Liu knew that what happened in the illusion wasn't real, but he could play with this little fatty joke for a long time. Covered by the gold silk water grass blanket, the little carp laughed so hard that he twitched non-stop. The tyrant master watched this and couldn't understand at all. Because Jingwang was injured, the emperor felt guilty and wanted to keep Jingwang inside the imperial palace until his injury was all better before letting him leave. However, Jingwang only agreed to stay for a total of 3 days. Then he asked to be excused. The emperor recalled that every time Jingwang entered the palace, he would always encounter some unpleasant things. Remaining silent for a moment, the emperor then granted his request. After experiencing this unforeseen event, the emperor felt more or less ill at ease. It's not that he still suspected Jingwang, instead he was worried about Jingwang's fish. Was there something wrong with it that the astronomy department couldn't see? The emperor sat meditated inside Ganking Palace for 2 hours. In the end, he ordered head steward Luo Ruisheng to invite over a reputable Buddhist monk, the Honorable Master Liao Kong. The reason why he wanted to invite Liao Kong was because this honorable master was not the same as normal monks. When he was younger, Liao Kong traveled all over and gained a broad view of the world. He was someone with extraordinary wisdom. Right now he was responsible for presiding over the imperial monastery, the Xuěshān temple. If the emperor was very trusting towards the head diviner Sun from the astronomy department, then Liao Kong was equivalent to 3 head diviner Sun. The only issue was that Liao Kong has presided over 3 generations of this dynasties. He was already very old and didn't show much interest in worldly matters. Other than answering the summons of the emperor, he basically didn't see anyone else. In other words, if the 3rd prince and the 6th prince could have gained the support of this Liao Kong, they wouldn't have needed to find fake monks. The current situation also wouldn't have ended like this. Head steward Luo carried the imperial edict and swiftly hurried to Xuěshān temple. Jingwang very quickly learned about this. In these days inside the imperial palace, Jingwang moved back to live inside Jingtai Palace again. When Wang Shi passed over the secret report, Jingwang glanced at the fish, who had moved back into the porcelain fish bowl and was following him around. Then Jingwang nodded his head slightly. Liu was a fish. He didn't particularly care where he lived actually. It's just that inside the Jing estate, Jingwang built him an extremely huge pond. It felt more free there, so he liked Jing estate better. However, staying inside Jingtai Palace for a few days was no problem either. When Wang Shi placed him inside the porcelain fish bowl, Liu looked around all over in surprise. He originally thought that the porcelain bowl inside Jingtai Palace would be somewhat small for him now. He never imagined that Jingwang had even replaced the fish bowls that he hadn't been using. Liu swam around inside this fish bowl, very comfortably and at ease. Liu thought somewhat flatteringly, if we're talking about who's best at raising fish, it'd definitely be the Tyrant master. On the first day that they stayed inside Jingtai Palace, the mothers of the third prince and sixth prince individually sent people over to pay him a visit. Because the two princes offended Jingwang and were punished, the third prince's birth mother concubine Jian and the sixth prince's birth mother concubine Zhang both wanted to plead Jingwang for mercy. They already tried on the emperor's side. But who let concubine Jian grew proud lately because of the third prince. Meanwhile, concubine Zhang was the same as the sixth prince, someone who seemed invisible. Their words in front of the emperor had no weight at all. The emperor didn't agree. They were afraid that begging too much would make the emperor even angrier, which would be causing more trouble for the two princes. Concubine Jian thought back and forth and in the end, decided to drag concubine Zhang off together to beg for mercy from Jingwang. Concubine Zhang didn't have any ideas herself. She was already crying anxiously over her son's corporal punishment. She just followed along with whatever concubine Jian said. However, the two of them were imperial concubines after all. It wasn't appropriate for them to privately visit a prince. Therefore, concubine Jian planned to let the emperor know, and with great fanfare, she brought along a whole group of servants and attendants along with gifts to visit Jingwang. Unexpectedly, these people waited bitterly outside of Jingtai Palace for several hours, but Jingwang still didn't seem to have any intention of seeing them. The news reached the emperor's ears. The emperor was very displeased that concubine Jian and concubine Zhang were bothering Jingwang at this time while he recuperated from his injury. In the end, he added the two concubines to the list of people to be put in confinement and set an example to the others at the same time and intimidated the members of his harem. Therefore, everyone in the imperial palace started to walk around Jingtai Palace to avoid going even near it. Jingtai Palace's surroundings instantly quieted down by a lot. The imperial physicians would individually come to Jingtai Palace every morning and evening to change bandages for Jingwang and check his pulse. On the first night, Jingwang had somewhat of a fever. At that time, there was no one inside the room. Waking up from his sleep, Li Yu looked at Jingwang out of habit. Because fish returned to the porcelain fish bowl again, it wasn't very convenient to take a look. Therefore, Li Yu swam to the edge of the fish bowl and carefully placed his fish fins on it, entire fish rising up and out of the water. He discovered that Jingwang laid in bed, pretty much unmoving for the entire night. Li Yu thought it was kind of strange. Then seeing Jingwang's somewhat abnormally reddened face and shortened breathing, Li Yu recognized this to be signs of a fever. He quickly changed into a human and ran over to check Jingwang's forehead. He felt that his fever wasn't low at all. When the imperial physicians diagnosed Jingwang, they also mentioned that it was very likely that he would develop a fever. Therefore, cold water and handkerchief were already prepared in the room. Li Yu quickly dipped the handkerchief on cold water and applied a cold compress on Jingwang. Then he hurriedly went to find Wang Shi. Wang Shi had been standing on guard outside the room all this time. When Li Yu called for him, he immediately went over. When he saw how the situation was, he immediately decided to call for an imperial physician and asked Li Yu to look after Jingwang. Li Yu. He could maintain his human form 2 hours only. Wang Gonggong should be able to rush back by then, right? In any case, he would take care of Jingwang for now. Li Yu sat down next to Jingwang's side. As soon as the handkerchief became warm, he immediately changed it for a cooler one. Jingwang was still burning. It couldn't keep going like this. Li Yu recalled how to lower fever from his old world and decided to give it a try. Undoing Jingwang's clothes, Li Yu used lukewarm water to wipe several of Jingwang's joints unceasingly. This method was pretty useful. Not long afterwards, Jingwang's fever retreated. However, Li Yu was completely exhausted himself. Although the things inside the illusion weren't real, when he was doing the koi mission, he used quite a lot of strength and effort to save the little fatty Jingwang. After finishing the task and leaving the illusion, he had to take care of the fevered Jingwang by himself in the middle of the night immediately afterwards. Li Yu didn't want to complain. He ultimately felt somewhat guilty that he wasn't able to help the fevered little fatty. Now he could finally make up for it slightly. The imperial physician hasn't arrived, but Jing Wang's fever have already went down from Li Yu's method. Li Yu covered him with the blanket again. Afraid that his fever will come back again, he still placed a wet towel over Jing Wang's forehead. Fish was too tired. He wanted to endure until he changed back into a fish, then jump back into the fish bowl to sleep. However, it was hard to keep awake for the remaining time period. Li Yu's eyelids kept drooping. Unable to wait until the end of the transformation time, he tilted slowly and collapsed down. Jing Wang's sleep was a bit heavy. When he woke up, he felt feeble all over and felt a weight over his chest. It turned out that the human Xiao Yu was laying on top of his chest, snoring loudly. Jing Wang. Jing Wang thought he was dreaming. Delighted but also confused, he couldn't resist touching Xiao Yu's face lightly. This was real. Although Jing Wang didn't know what happened, this fish was so unguarded at the moment, Jing Wang couldn't help but encircle him within his arms. Jing Wang moved his injured hand. The wound on his palm pulsed in pain. The injury might have opened again. Jing Wang raised an eyebrow, not really caring much. He switched hands to press the sleeping Carpiao into his embrace. Thinking he was still a fish, Li Yu wiggled around restlessly, mumbling in his sleep, "Little fatty, you're so heavy." Jing Wang. Jing Wang was somewhat angry. He had placed the fish within his sight all day long. What fatty dared to come dig his wall? Jing Wang wanted to push Xiao Yu away and asked him to clear this matter. He just got up a little when the handkerchief on his forehead rolled down. Because this handkerchief became warm by the heat of his fever, he didn't realize it was there for a second. Jing Wang held the wet cloth in his hand. Xiao Yu was still sleeping like the dead in his arms. In combination with how out of sorts he felt when he woke up, Jing Wang understood very quickly. He most likely had a fever. Xiao Yu took care of him and then fell asleep in exhaustion. Realizing this fact, Jing Wang was still a little angry, but now, he was reluctant to wake the fish up. Who cares about that little fatty? As long as he didn't let go, no one could steal Xiao Yu from his hands. Afraid that the Carpiao would get cold, he tucked in the sleeping Xiao Yu into the blankets as he laid down himself as well. Half asleep, Xiao Yu leaned over to nuzzle his shoulder. Jing Wang, who suddenly became aware of what he did. He was sharing a bed with the Carpiao. Jing Wang's breathing staggered. Does this mean he's absorbing essence? Because within the stories, the snake Yao or fox Yao were always the first to initiate the act, Jing Wang could only wait. However, this fish was quite an anomaly. No matter how long he waited, the fish was still dead asleep. Jing Wang felt very complicated. Almost in retaliation, he wickedly covered the Carpiao's mouth and nose. Li Yu whimpered and flailed unhappily for a bit. Jing Wang let him go. When Li Yu could breathe again, he quieted once more. Jing Wang suddenly leaned close and kissed Xiao Yu's slightly opened lips. Leading the way for the imperial physician, Wang Shi jogged all the way back to Jingtai Palace. Wiping away the sweat drops on his forehead, Wang Gonggong asked the imperial physician to wait a second. As usual, he needed to check the situation inside the room first before taking the next step. Wang Shi pushed open the door halfway. When he didn't see young Master Li, Wang Shi felt somewhat surprised. Then, looking on the bed, Wang Gonggong instantly froze. Inside the blankets there were two figures. It was impossible for Wang Shi to not recognize them. It was Jing Wang and young Master Li. At this moment, Wang Shi felt the conflict in his heart reached a pinnacle. His Highness have always been clean of heart and had few desires. Suddenly encountering this kind of thing, Wang Shi should feel happy for his master. However, didn't His Highness have a fever? Why suddenly do this kind of thing at this time? The imperial physician was already here. Should he report this or not? His master finally managed to enjoy himself for once. If he interrupted his master, then he'd be making a huge mistake. But if he didn't report and the master was still ill, his master's body might not be able to handle it. Wang Shi squeezed his eyes closed, then opened them. Even if his master blamed him for this, he'll accept it. Wang Shi knelt down and said in a shaky tone, "Your Highness, the imperial physician is already outside." As Wang Shi spoke, the lips that Jing Wang was kissing several times suddenly disappeared. Jing Wang lowered his head and saw that in his embrace, Xiao Yu had returned to his original shape. Because he knew this fish couldn't transform for too long, Jing Wang originally didn't plan to do anything else. However, when he really experienced having the black and gold fish laying on top of his chest, Jing Wang was momentarily stunned. He felt like this situation seemed to have happened before. However, there was no time to think more about it now. He must first deal with this fish. Pulling out a jade bell from under the pillow, Jing Wang shook it once. Wang Shi let out a breath of relief. His Highness was saying that he was willing to see the imperial physician and wanted Wang Shi to wait outside first. That's right. Young Master Li was here after all. They needed to get things in order first. There's no way they would let the imperial physician in just like this. Wang Shi respectfully backed out and closed the door for Jing Wang. Jing Wang waited until Wang Shi left before picking up the fish and getting up. He was already used to this. Putting the sleeping fish firmly back into the fish bowl, he covered it with the gold silk water grass blanket and even lightly petted the fish on the head with a slight smile. The sleeping fish, who had no cares or worries, blew a tiny bubble. After doing all this, Jing Wang returned back to the bed and laid down. Shaking the jade bell again, he let Wang Shi and the imperial physician enter inside. After Wang Shi walked in, he glanced around all over, feeling extremely puzzled inside. His Highness was still here, but young Master Li was completely gone. In such a short period of time too, and with him guarding the door outside. Where could young Master Li have gone to? Jing Wang's gaze swept over. Wang Shi immediately stopped his wandering thoughts. When Li Yu woke up again, he was already sleeping inside the porcelain fish bowl. Recalling how he unknowingly fell asleep because he was too tired and too sleepy after taking care of Jing Wang, Li Yu. He was too careless. What if he was discovered by Jing Wang or Wang Gong? Good thing Jing Wang was having a fever and was asleep. He shouldn't have seen him. The reason he woke up in the fish bowl should be because he changed back into a fish next to Jing Wang's bed. When Wang Gong came back, he must have seen fish and put him back into the fish bowl. The imperial physician already left. Li Yu heard Wang Shi quietly informing the servants that Jing Wang's wound opened up again, but fortunately it was taken care of promptly. In the future, they must carefully look after it so it shouldn't get any worse. That's good. Li Yu felt a lot more at ease. However, Li Yu shook his head several times. Was fish's mouth bitten by something? Why did it hurt a little? End chapter. The disabled tyrant's beloved pet fish. Transmigration. Chapter 48. When Li Yu learned the news that the Honorable Master Liao Kong entered the palace to have an audience with the emperor, he was currently clinging on the edge of the porcelain bowl, glaring angrily at Jing Wang. Jing Wang's injury just got a little better. He already grabbed another ancient cultivation book and started reading it right in front of Fish's face. Li Yu didn't know what was wrong with the tyrant master. This impressive protagonist of a palace intrigue novel was actually interested in cultivation and even read the books with such seriousness. Li Yu felt a sense of danger rising in his heart. It's like if he stopped paying attention for 1 second, Jing Wang would go cultivate into an immortal. In any case, there's a solution to every problem. This wasn't even the first time he disturbed Jing Wang from cultivating. Originally, he wanted to follow what he did before and get Jing Wang's book wet. He's gotten plenty of these kinds of books wet before. Jing Wang never blamed or got angry with him, so Li Yu has always been confident and assured. However, this time, he saw Jingwang's hand that was wrapped in bandage and felt somewhat hesitant. If Fish jumped over directly, what if he accidentally got water on Jingwang's wound as well? The imperial physician instructed countless times that the wound must not get wet. Liu definitely didn't want his tyrant master's wound to get worse and get a fever again. Fish will die of exhaustion. How about, secretly hiding the book while he's a human? Or, he could complain directly to Wang Gonggong? Wang Shi probably didn't want Jingwang to become an immortal either, right? Liu was currently plotting how to ruin Jingwang's cultivation plans when head steward Luo arrived at Jingtai Palace in order to give the emperor's edict, which was, Master Liao Kong has arrived. The emperor wants Jingwang to meet Liao Kong. Head steward Luo then leaned close to Jingwang's ear and said some other things. Jingwang calmly gave a glance at Xiao Yu and then agreed. Meanwhile, when Liu heard Liao Kong's name, he felt somewhat flustered. If he remembered correctly, Honorable Master Liao Kong was the head of Huguo Temple. In the original story, this was a position even higher than experienced monks. Later, when Jingwang became a tyrant, Liao Kong once appeared to dissuade him. The blackened Jingwang didn't listen to his words but also didn't kill Liao Kong. From this it could be seen that Liao Kong really did have some true skills. However, in the original book, Liao Kong only appeared in order to dissuade Jingwang. Right now, Jingwang was doing very well. Why would Liao Kong see him at this time? Liu didn't consider himself as the reason at all. He figured that Jingwang had already read plenty of introductory cultivation books. What if he changed his mind and didn't want to cultivate anymore? What if instead, he wanted to reject the physical world, follow Liao Kong and live his life as a monk? Facing this palace intrigue genre protagonist, who never followed the script normally and was always attempting to cultivate, Liu felt like even something like this was possible. Seeing Jingwang about to head off to Ganking Palace, Liu immediately jumped out of the fishbowl and hopped on top of the crystal bottle. He wanted to go too. Liu secretly decided that if Jingwang really mentioned becoming a monk to Liao Kong, he would turn Ganking Palace upside down into utter chaos once more and ruin Jingwang's plan to become a monk. Jingwang didn't have intention to leave Xiao Yu behind anyways. As he nimbly placed Xiao Yu into the bottle, he felt like this Carpio inexplicably had somewhat of a killing aura right now. When Jingwang arrived at Ganking Palace, the emperor and Liao Kong had already finished exchanging pleasantries. Jingwang greeted the emperor respectfully. Liao Kong also stepped forth and faintly nodded his head at Jingwang. The crystal bottle was inside Jingwang's sleeve. Liu also peeked outside from the sleeve. Liao Kong was over 70 years old, with white hair and beard. However, he still was energetic and vigorous, glowing in health. In comparison to the fake monks that the sixth prince brought over, the difference was like heaven and earth. With one look, one can tell that this monk was on another level. Liu only looked briefly. Not knowing if it was intentional or unintentional, Liao Kong's burning gaze immediately shot over at Fish. Damn! This one was a genuine master monk. Would he see through the fact that Liu was a transmigrated fish? Startled, Liu didn't dare to peek again. Jingwang subconsciously blocked his sleeve, obstructing the view. Your Highness Jingwang, long time no see. Liao Kong said with a smile. Jingwang furrowed his brows and nodded. The emperor was very grateful. Lian Kong's arrival made him remember some things that happened in the past. The emperor rubbed his hands and said, Tianqi, do you still remember Liao Kong? When you accidentally fell into the water when you were young, you developed a high fever that refused to go down. Your life was in peril and all the imperial physicians didn't know what to do. Zhen could only invite Liao Kong over to take a look at you. Luckily he knew an ancient prescription that reduced the fever for you. He told me that your life lacked water element. Because of this, Zhen decided to change your name to change your fortune. After that, you got better day by day and eventually recovered completely. The emperor exclaimed, what an escape from calamity. Zhen still remember the pond that you fell into. Back then the pond lit up with a golden light. It was very dazzling. With the addition of Liao Kong's advice, Zhen decided on the word qi for your new name. Jingwang. This was the first time that Jingwang had heard the emperor talked of this past event. Before he was 3 years old, his name was Tianjing. After that, it was changed to Tianqi. When he came of age, he was given the title of Wang. The emperor specifically granted the word Jing for his title, giving back the name that originally belonged to him. However, because he had a fever back then, he couldn't remember what had happened to bring this about, therefore, he also didn't know there was this inside story. Liu who was unable to peek but still able to eavesdrop. Liu was completely dumbfounded. Was what happened in the illusion actually not an illusion? Could it be that those things really happened to Jingwang in the past? In accordance to the emperor's words, that seemed to be the case. Little Fatty did fell into the pond when he was young, then had a high fever afterwards that didn't subside. However, although he was in the illusion, Jingwang must not be so lucky in reality. He must have drifted ashore later on. Liu recalled the little fatty's chubby body. He must have had hard time. The situation back then must have been very dangerous. A fever that even imperial physicians couldn't do anything about was a matter of life and death for a 2 to 3 years old. The emperor must have really been out of his wits and had no choice but to find a monk instead of a doctor. Changing Jingwang's name to change his fortune, this can be considered as making a desperate last attempt. At this time, Liu didn't actually realize what the golden light inside the pond that the emperor had mentioned was about. He only thought there was light in the pond that was most likely reflected from somewhere else. The fact that Jingwang was originally called Tianjing was something that he had guessed correctly. Good thing Liao Kong advised the emperor. Liu thought randomly. What if the emperor got too creative and changed Jingwang's name to Tianguang, Tianjing or whatever? None of them sounded as good as Tianqi. Although Jingwang didn't remember what happened in the past, having been reminded by the emperor, he still cupped his hands and saluted, expressing his gratitude towards Liao Kong. Liao Kong said humbly, "This old monk was only lending a passing hand. Your Highness, Jingwang was the one who the heavens thought it worthy to save. Honorable master, there's no need to be humble." After this pleasant exchange, the emperor finally moved on to the main point. Today, Zhen need to trouble you once more and have you take a look at the fish that Jingwang has been raising lately. Zhen thinks it's pretty nice. Liu finally realized at this point. So, it's not because Jingwang wanted to become a monk. The emperor wanted Jingwang to see Liao Kong mainly because of fish. The little carp instantly felt somewhat apprehensive. He wasn't afraid of others, but Liao Kong, this master monk, would he be able to tell instantly that Liu was a transmigrated fish? Liu decided that if possible, he'll hide this fact and did his best to feign being a normal ingredient carp. He definitely wouldn't cause trouble right under Liao Kong's eyes. Since the emperor opened his golden mouth, Jingwang pulled out the crystal bottle from his sleeve with a solemn face and opened the cover in front of the emperor and Liao Kong. When Liao Kong looked at the black and gold fish inside the crystal bottle, he became pensive. Under his gaze, the little carp was extremely vigilant, not swimming around much. Afraid of Xiao Yu getting nervous at seeing a stranger, Jingwang used his uninjured left hand to lightly touch the fish's back. Liu pretended he didn't feel anything and didn't respond at all. He indifferently blew a bubble. Jingwang and the fish's every move and action were seen by Liao Kong's eyes. After Liao Kong mumbled for a moment, he said to the emperor, "From what I can see, Jingwang's fish is indeed very unique." As he paused, Liao Kong, who was about to continue speaking, quickly received two burning gazes from the normally cold-faced Jingwang and the little carp who was acting stupid in Jingwang's hand. Talk about pets acting like their masters. Liao Kong secretly laughed and continued to say, "I have never come across something like this in my life. This fish. He purposely paused for the suspense. As expected, Jingwang's gaze was practically about to cut him into 1,000 pieces. Even as a 70-year-old, Liao Kong could still feel a chill to the back of his neck. With a faint smile, he continued, "This fish should be a descendant of koi. Right now it doesn't really look like it, but in the future, it will look more and more like one." Liu was flabbergasted. He never thought that this master monk would have such high wisdom. If you say that he didn't sense anything, then why would he specifically declare that he will look more and more like a koi? But if you say that he did sense something, then why did he not expose Liu? Jingwang gave Liao Kong a cold glance. As long as he didn't say Xiao Yu was some kind of yao or monster, or say that Xiao Yu will turn into a dragon, then it didn't matter to Jingwang. The emperor was stunned for a moment, then said, "This fish is really a koi?" "Yes." Liao Kong nodded his head and said dramatically, "However, this kind of koi is extremely rare. For His Highness Jingwang to have found it, it is an extremely lucky thing." The emperor trusted Liao Kong. Liao Kong's words also matched the divination from the astronomy department. Finally, the emperor felt at ease and said with a smile, "No wonder Zhen always feel like it's an auspicious sign. So, it's actually a descendant of koi." Internally, the emperor felt even more disdain towards the third prince, who would go so far as to slander a koi. Liu still did his best to pretend he was only a normal carp as he continued to secretly observe the emperor and Liao Kong's actions. When Liao Kong spoke, he'd always paused in the middle of his sentences, really maintaining the air of a master monk to its fullest extent. It caused Liu to tremble in fear several times. However, Liao Kong ultimately stated that Liu was a koi in front of the emperor. If Liu changed in the future, then, there'd be no issues. This Liao Kong looked quite scary, but in the end, he helped fish out. Fortunately for Liu, he managed to unwittingly find a good excuse right in front of the emperor and Jingwang's eyes. Looks like it won't be long before he can receive the reward for the Become a Koi side quest. The emperor and Liao Kong conversed happily. Jingwang listened quietly to the side. When Liao Kong took his leave, the emperor ordered Jingwang to send him off personally. For once, Jingwang didn't bring the little carp with him. Instead, he ordered Wang Shi to bring the crystal bottle back to his room first. He still had many questions that he needed to ask Liao Kong, but he didn't want the carp Yao to know about it. After sending everyone away, Jingwang gave a deep bow. Liao Kong said with a smile, "Many thanks for trusting me, Your Highness. I hope I have not disappointed you." Jingwang raised his head and shared a smile with Liao Kong. Back then, when Jingwang was investigating Mu Tianxiao's attempt to create the would transform into a dragon rumor, he already thought that things might spiral out of hand. The longer this kind of rumor dragged on, the worse it would get. Only decisive action can resolve this complex situation. By finding a person that the emperor believed wholeheartedly in, he could overthrow this rumor completely. But who to find? At first, Jingwang wasn't too certain. Although head diviner soon had the emperor's trust, he couldn't guarantee that the emperor wouldn't be swayed by the rumor and continued to remain indecisive. Only relying on diviner soon was not enough. Jingwang very quickly remembered the head of Xuěshān Temple, the Honorable Master Liao Kong. The Xuěshān Temple was established by the royal family. The emperor had absolute trust in Liao Kong. If he had any doubts, he would definitely ask Liao Kong. Therefore, Jingwang might as well directly ask Liao Kong for help. Everyone knew that Liao Kong didn't bother with worldly matters and basically only listened to the emperor. However, they didn't know that Liao Kong had a personal friendship with Jingwang's grandfather, the former Duke of Chang'an. Although only the emperor could summon Liao Kong, he would also act about for in favor of his close friends. Back then, when Liao Kong accepted the emperor's invitation and saved the extremely sickly fifth prince, it was also partially for the sake of the former Duke of Chang'an. Jingwang knew about this. The reason he could successfully obtain Liao Kong's assistance this time was also because of the former Duke of Chang'an's mediation. Jingwang already went over the answer to this issue with Liao Kong early on. The display before the emperor just now was only to make the act look real in order to dispel the emperor's suspicions. Now that there was no one in the vicinity, Liao Kong exclaimed excitedly, "With this kind of cunningness, your future is really boundless and prosperous." Jingwang only thought Liao Kong was teasing. Lowering his eyes, he cupped his hands and saluted. The following conversation was all top secret. Jingwang pulled the already prepared paper and brush from his sleeve and gave it to Liao Kong. Liao Kong picked up the brush and wrote quickly, "Keeping him beside you, are you really not afraid of the consequences?" Liao Kong didn't actually specify who this him was, however Jingwang and Liao Kong both knew it in their hearts. Not even needing any time to consider, Jingwang confidently wrote, "He wouldn't hurt me." Liao Kong nodded his head. He can also sense that Jingwang's fish wasn't a normal carp. However, it also wasn't anything evil. Liao Kong didn't feel any ill intent from it. If this wasn't the case, he wouldn't have agreed to help Jingwang here and cover up for this special fish. Liao Kong said, "Since you know already, what else do you need me to answer?" Jingwang wrote, "Do you know why he came here?" Liao Kong gave Jingwang a deep look and said, "Other things I might not know, but I just happen to know a little about this one aspect. Many years ago, on the day you accidentally fell into the water, I just happened to be in the imperial palace. I discovered that a black fish with gold streaks swam past inside the pond that you accidentally fell into." Jingwang. With his gaze stirring and hands trembling uncontrollably, Jingwang swiftly wrote something and then crossed it out. Jingwang calmed himself down. In the end, he wrote, "What kind of fish was it?" Liao Kong said, "Exactly the same as the fish that you are raising right now. Basically pitch black with some gold scale on its stomach and tail. Just a little larger." Jingwang fell silent. Size really didn't matter. His family's Xiaoyu doubled in size not long ago. What Liao Kong saw, was most likely Xiaoyu. Did Xiaoyu come to him before when he was younger? Liao Kong continued to say, "Back then, the pond that you fell into was very deep. A 2 to 3-year-old child couldn't have swam out of it on their own. Do you understand what I'm trying to say, Your Highness? Let's say it like this." Liao Kong said with a smile. "I also don't know what he is. However, he definitely came here for you." Came for him? Jingwang felt extremely touched. He suddenly remembered when Xiaoyu transformed back to his fish form and laid on his chest. The reason he thought it felt familiar was because it was something that happened when they first met. Back then when he first picked up this fish that almost died after being thrown away by the cat. What exactly was he thinking at that time? Why did he stop and came back specifically for a fish? Because he had heard something lightly hitting the ground. That was the sound of a fish tail touching the ground. He wasn't sure how he knew. This seemed like something that was engraved in his memories. The sound of the fish's tail meant the fish was still alive. Later, this sound disappeared, meaning the fish was about to die. Because of this, he automatically went to save the fish. Jingwang couldn't help but chuckle lightly. Although he no longer remembered what happened in the past, this instinct that remained in his body, was probably a memory from that time. End chapter.